Hello, Natalia here, and I have decided to start a new kind of vlog series that I'm going to title Writer's Journey so that I can chronicle the projects that I'm currently working on. Now, I discovered in about 8th grade that I really wanted to pursue writing as a career. Up through my young life, I had always loved writing, and I had won some awards when I was in elementary school for my writing, but I didn't know until 8th grade that I was pretty serious about it. However, I hadn't written a book yet. I hadn't even thought about writing a book, so it was a pretty daunting task. Over the next few years, and while I was in high school, I did start and abandon many manuscripts. I would get super excited about an idea, I'd start writing it, and then 10 pages in, I would completely lose steam and all inspiration, and I would abandon it. When I was a freshman in college, I got the idea for the book that I would eventually see through to completion. It took me a year to write, and when I finally wrote the end on the last page, I felt amazing. When I used to dream about being an author, the scariest part to me was the fear that I would never finish a book, that I would never see it through to the end of a manuscript. So when I was finally able to write the end and know that I finished that story, I was amazingly proud of myself. I was ecstatic that I was able to get to that point. Now, the book wasn't very good. There were plot holes, the characters had no motivation, and I really had no idea what I was doing. But that's not what was important. The important part was that I saw it through to completion, and I knew that I could do it again. So I ended up completely rewriting that book, and after I did the rewrite, I did 1 round of edits, and then I sent that out to a few family members and friends. My cat is saying hello. Hi, darling. I sent that out to a few family members and friends, and they liked it. And I knew that it wasn't strong enough to traditionally publish, so I decided to learn a bit about self-publishing. So I self-published Highborn about 2 years ago, and I didn't do any marketing for this really. I just told my friends and family about it because for me, it wasn't important to really try to sell the book or try to get it out there because the first book for me really was just about pride, being proud of the work that I had done and proving to myself and others that I could write a book. I could write a book, I could format a book, and here it was right in front of me. You could hold it, you can read it, and this felt amazing. After finishing and publishing Highborn, I took a little bit of time off to kind of reevaluate what project I wanted to work on next. And what I ended up doing was going back to one of the manuscripts that I had started and abandoned in high school. Now, this was a story about a girl that could speak to and control fire, and she ended up joining a kind of freak show circus and finding herself and discovering how important she really was and learning how to love herself. So it was a bit of a coming of age novel with fantasy aspects because I love fantasy so much. And I did end up completely finishing the manuscript, and it topped out at about 100. I want to say 150,000 words, which was a lot. So I spent another year and a few NaNoWriMos, a few Camp NaNoWriMo sessions, then a November NaNoWriMo. I spent those editing it, and the edits turned into a rewrite, and I got about, I want to say about halfway through, and it was going well, but I really lost motivation, and I lost steam for that story, and I found that the more I tried to force myself to work on it, the more stressed and anxious I was getting, and I wasn't enjoying writing anymore, and I was having no fun with it. So even though I really fell in love with those characters, the plot line I didn't feel was working for them, and it eventually, the stress from that novel eventually scared me away from writing. So I stopped writing for about 4 months. I'd say one entire semester of school. I wasn't working on any new projects. I did have creative writing classes, but I was using chapters from Firetongue for those classes, so I wasn't having to write any new material. And it took a long time for me to kind of catch the writing bug again and know that I wanted to start writing again. Now, I did not go back to Firetongue. I still have it on the hard drive of my computer, but at this point, I'm not ready to go back and work on it. I just feel stressed and anxious when I even think about starting that project again. So I decided to start something completely new. Now, over the past month and a half, I've been working on a new manuscript, and it's been going rather well. I do feel like I've remained inspired through most of it, and I've pushed through the hard chunks of writing, and I do feel like I'm going to see this one through to completion. I think anytime a writer starts a new novel, there's always that question in the back of your head about, is this going to be one of those novels that I'm really excited about and then I end up abandoning? Or is this going to be one of those novels that I really see through to the end and I fall in love with the characters and the settings and I'm really able to do it justice? And this story that I've been working on, I definitely feel like I'm going to be able to see through to the end. Now, this might be a little early to be talking about it. I did hit the 30,000 word mark a few days ago, and I'm at about 75 pages on my Microsoft Word document. So I'd say that I'm about a quarter of the way through, maybe a little bit more or less. We'll see how that ends up. But this morning I did hit a bit of a block. Now, I'm not somebody that really believes in writer's block. I did for a long time until I figured out that writer's block for me was just an excuse. I would say, oh, I have writer's block, I can't write today. But I really think that even if you're feeling that creative block, you have to push through it or else you're not going to get anywhere. Especially for people that want to make writing their career, you can't just stop when you don't feel inspired. It's something that you have to work through and learn how to work around. And this morning, I had to write a scene where the characters went from one location on their journey to a second location. And the second location, I really wanted them to get to because there's going to be a lot that happens here. A lot of exciting new characters to meet, including the male lead, who I'm really excited to write about. And I didn't know how I was going to get them from point A to point B and make it actually interesting. So I opened up my Word document today and I started writing, and it just wasn't flowing very smoothly. My sentence structure sounded awkward and choppy, and the words that I was seeking weren't coming to me. The creative language that I usually use sounded dry, and I wasn't feeling it, and it was really difficult. However, I knew that I had to get through this point if I wanted to continue with the novel and get to the sections and the scenes that I was really excited about. So what I did was I turned off that inner editor that was telling me everything you write is crap and you might as well stop now. Well, I silenced her. I told her to shut up and get out, and I wrote through that really tricky part, and I ended up writing, I want to say about 1,000 words to get from the point A to point B. And once I got to that point B, my creativity was back. I was really excited about the scenes that I was going to write, and I was able to really build up the new world that my characters were about to discover for themselves, and it started flowing really well. I wrote another 1,700 words without any struggle, and I really just moved through it so quickly because I was so excited about it. And this really got me thinking about how important it is to push through those hard days, because any creative person is going to have struggles. But the important thing is to not let those struggles keep you down, because if you hit a block in your writing and you give up, you're never going to be able to see anything through to completion, and you won't know how amazing that project could have been if you had just pushed through. So at this point, I am sitting at approximately 32,000 words on my manuscript. I do start my very last semester of college tomorrow, and this semester is going to be pretty busy for me. I'm taking 16 credits with a lot of literature classes, so I'm going to have to be doing a lot of reading. So I probably won't be able to write as much as I've been writing as of late. The past week and a half, I've been writing 1,000 to 2,000 words a day, which is a lot for me. That's really surprising. And I think it's because of my standing desk, which I posted about on Tumblr, so I will link that down below if you want to learn a bit more about it. But since I start back to school tomorrow, I'm a little bit worried about how much it's going to slow down the project. I just know that as long as I'm working every single day, whether I'm writing 300 words or 800 words or 1,200 words, a little bit every day will keep the story alive in my mind and will keep my characters trudging on, trying to get to that very final scene. So if you're writing a book right now, or a short story, or whatever it is you're working on, and you feel a lack of inspiration, or you feel like you've just hit a wall, just know that there is more beyond that. If you can just push through that and know that even if what you're working on doesn't seem very strong and doesn't seem very good, just get it down. You can always go back and edit it later. Just write through that slog, and then you'll finally get to the scenes that you really want to write. For now, I'm going to get back to writing, but I'm going to try to chronicle more of these writing days so that I can look back on them and be entertained, and hopefully somebody else can get something out of it too. So I wish you all well on your creative and writing journeys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.